Joining us at this time, we have the UNC candidate for Brea, Comrade Clyde Elder. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mikee K. Good evening to you and your listeners.
Thank you so much.
By yellow is the code?
Yeah, yellow is the code. That's right, my friend. Thank you so much for taking time out this Sunday to link with us. First of all, I want people to get an idea here. So I want to ask you, I mean, I've known you for years, but who is Clyde Elder?
Well, Clyde Elder is a very humble person from a small, quiet village of Carapal that's located in Erin, which is within the Brea constituency, by the way. I went to Rancho Commander Government School, again in the Brea district, and then I went to Irie High School, which was my first choice. Came from very humble beginnings. When I grew up, I had no running water, no electricity. Went to school without books and persevered and worked my way up. Got employed in TSCT and then got involved in trade unionism for quite some time, a number of years. Led CW for 6 years, and now I'm involved in politics. In a nutshell, that's who I am.
I think the thing about it is that you could have simply just enjoy your retirement, stay on the sidelines. I mean, you're talking about getting involved in something where people would say the most nastiest things, they would fabricate stories, they would throw allegations, you name it. But what made you step into this arena and say you had to make a difference to serve the people?
Well, Mike, when you look at what's going on in this country right now, and for some time, the decay that we have been finding ourselves in, no progress, youths have no hope. And I have 2 children myself. One is 9 and the other one is 16, right? In CXC this year. And when I look at what is going on in my constituency that I came from of Brea, even though it's a PNM safety that with them I am mad, I say, look, listen, I have to stand up and make a difference and try to do something different for the people of Brea. I could have stayed home, as you said, enjoy my retirement because I was very happy at home. I wasn't fussing to get up and go up the highway and represent this work and represent that work and do this and do that. I was very comfortable. But I could not be comfortable in this kind of environment that we find ourselves in and do nothing about it. I had to make a difference. And therefore, when the Coalition of Interest was formed, and I was asked both by the United National Congress as well as the OWT to consider being a candidate for Brea, I jumped at the opportunity because I felt that it was time that I actually stood up and made a difference and took this chance in a political way. Because you see, when you have a political problem, the only kind of solution for that is a political solution. You can't pray and hope that it goes away. You have to do something politically to ensure that you actively seek to make a difference. And that's what I thought I should do. I spoke to my family. I let them know, as you said, look, politics is not an easy game. They're going to say things. They're going to do things. Arrows are going to come. I said, but once we understand what we're getting into, then God is on our side, and I am not somebody of any ill repute. My character is unquestionable. My ethics unquestionable. I am incorruptible, and I've been representing workers fearlessly, and now it's time for me to represent constituents of Brea.
Now, how much of your experience at the helm of CWU, gave you that feeling that you had to get involved? I mean, at some point in time, over the last 9 years, you had to come to the realization that this is not a labor-friendly administration.
Well, certainly. I mean, so many things happened with workers over that 9 years. I mean, I would normally call TDC, that's a Tourism Development Company, GHRSL, Government Resource Services Limited, Caronic Green, TSTT, Petrotrin, even ArcelorMittal, that's a privately owned company, but the workers in there still haven't gotten a cent up to today. So all of those things, not to mention negotiations that were settled and were not honored in terms of those settlement agreements. All of those things combined, and even by themselves, were enough to say, look, this can't be a labor-friendly government. I mean, they attacked unions, they attacked OWQ, they attacked CW, they attacked PSA, you name it, they attacked unions. And they continue to attack unions, by the way, but we can't leave them there to keep doing what they want. You see, some people were fooled and believe that PNM care about them because, I mean, some people still voted for Eric Williams. Whether you believe it or not, they still voted for Eric Williams. But the PNM that they know today is not the PNM that they knew since 1950s and 1960s. And therefore, PNM continues to fool some people some of the time, but they can't fool all the people all the time. And therefore, it was time for me to say, look, listen, I am now out of trade unionism. The union I was in held an independent political position for years. And of course, I could not compromise that. And now that I'm out, I'm on my own. I can make a difference now, and I choose to make that difference now. The union experience has severely and most importantly prepared me for this environment I'm in now, because it's a natural transition. Somebody told me on the campaign trail, you know, there's a thin line between being a politician and a trade unionist. And I'm beginning to realize more and more that might be so, you know. So that prepared me for this environment that I'm now getting into, to represent people. The representation was confined to a group of workers in a company or in a sector. Now I'm representing people of all different walks of life, different creed, race, color, background, different work experience, different working place, but all in one constituency of La Brea. And I decided, look, it's time for me to represent that group of people, and by extension, represent Trinidad and Tobago as well.
You know, the UNC in their manifesto says that the UNC's workers' agenda is built on some core commitments to our nation's workers and trade unions. Now, those core commitments throughout the years as a trade unionist, you would have known that based on the history. Did you ever think that the day would come when an administration would look at the trade union movement as a liability rather than the fact that it's an asset to the working class?
Well, you see, when you know the history of the People's National Movement, they have always been anti-worker, because when they passed the Industrial Relations Act and even the forerunner to the Industrial Stabilization Act, it was done against a background of tremendous protest action and stuff that were taking place by unions, and it was a way to try to hush and keep unions quiet and to keep them in check and keep them in line. And when you look at the other history, PNM was always anti-worker, so it's not surprising to me that they continue that anti-worker agenda. To the extent they continued, I think that was the surprising part. But the silver lining is that we have a party that we can look to for hope, and we can look to and say that party cares, that party aligns with the workers' agenda, that party is a party we can give a chance. Yes, we were in government before. I'm saying we in terms of the partnership between 2010 and 2015, there were things that both sides didn't do the way they're supposed to do it properly, and we have worked on those things. We have worked on those issues that will come up, because issues will come up.
Yes.
Make no mistake about that. Issues will come up. But how we treat with those issues is what is critical to ensuring our success. And that's why for the last 2 years that the trade union movement and the United National Congress has been sitting down, working out those issues, working out those working arrangements, working out conflict resolution mechanisms, because as you say, issues will arise. I mean, we are all humans, we are not infallible, so issues will arise. But when the issues arise, how we treat them is what is going to keep us successful and keep us winning and keep us in government. And I think now we have that chance to do it. Now we understand that from history, history is 2020 vision, we can look back and see what we did wrong, fix those things, and move forward in a progressive manner. Because at the end of the day, the United National Congress has always been a pro-labor party as opposed to the People's National Movement.
So true. Yeah, it says here that the UNC is committed to creating a living wage to ensure that all workers earn sufficient salaries to support themselves and their families comfortably. You know, and one would think that why would an administration not understand that? Why would an administration be so out of sync to the fact of all the challenges that where the working class is dealing with? You have an administration that has basically wiped out the middle class, Comrade Elder, wiped it out completely. And now today, what are we really looking at? What are we facing? And that's the main question. If the PNM remains there.
Well, when you have as a prime minister in a nation that says nothing is wrong with the rich getting richer once the benefits can reach down to the poor and the less fortunate. It tells you where their headspaces are because they're not concerned about the middle class. That statement alone, I don't know if people understood when Dr. Rowley made that statement. I don't think people really grasp the severity and the real meaning and the critical thing about that statement is how it impacted the middle class. I don't think people understood that because that statement was in fact an admission that we don't care about the middle class. We care about the middle class is just haves and have-nots. And what has been happening, for example, in this country when they closed up Petrotrin, how and who got the contract to get the manpower into Heritage now, right? So you have to ask yourself those questions. And what happens now is that the haves continue to have and to get, and the haves not continue to lose and to lose and to lose and to lose. They lose the job, they lose income, they lose opportunity to the point where they now lose hope. But I'm here to tell you that on the 28th of April 2025, that change is coming, that the Freedom Day is coming, and that UNC will win. And when UNC wins, everybody will win. So there's hope. There's hope in the UNC.
The UNC is also committed to amending the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority legislation for PSA union successorship to ensure representation of TTRA workers, and that was a major issue.
Yes.
Tell us, I mean, what does it mean knowing that dialogue has taken place and there's some focus there that can benefit those workers?
Well, and you recall, Mikee K, that this issue is an issue that went all the way to Privy Council. And it went to Privy Council being fought by I think it's Ms. Dury, and on behalf of the PSA. And she took the government straight to the Privy Council, right? And of course, they got to go ahead to do what they want in terms of the Revenue Authority. But at the end of the day, the critical issue in that was that no discussion was held, no agreement was arrived at in terms of how do you treat with the workers who are now in the customs and excise, who are now licensed officers and other areas that you want to merge into Revenue Authority. How do you treat those workers in terms of their current terms and conditions, in terms of their future terms and conditions, in terms of the union's right, in terms of union recognition? That was never dealt with. And it is heartening to see that in the union, and you see, I keep making a mistake, but it's a genuine mistake because it is now synonymous, that the UNC and the unions agenda has now aligned to the point where the UNC has put it in the manifesto, the workers' agenda, that includes looking after the Revenue Authority and ensuring that the union has successorship in the new entity. That's a critical point because see what you don't want workers to get into an entity thinking that you'll always have good people in office, and the PNM shows us that you can't always have good people in office.
So true.
And that you'll always treat the worker good. You have to ensure that you put things in place so if a worker is treated badly, there's a redress for that worker to get justice in his working life. So that's an excellent piece of manifesto, I'm going to call it promise, right? Because you know the manifesto of any party that then becomes government is in fact government policy. That's an excellent piece of government policy.
That's right. Now the UNC rejects the unjust 4% and 5% imposed on all state sector workers and commits to engage in the free and fair collective bargaining process through the office of the CPO. And now to me, that definitely is number one. I think it's an insult with this 4% and even this 5%, taking into consideration the cost of living, inflation, and the challenges that one has to go through on a daily basis. I mean, this really says a lot as far as helping the workers and getting them in a position where they have that buying power, purchasing power that is necessary. Indeed it does. And the more insulting part of that, Mikee K, is that while they gave the workers 4%, they gave themselves 47, 50 something, 60 something percent increase. Even the Prime Minister, who is already well off, who is already well taken care of by us, he is leaving office with a back pay of $1 million and a pension of $87,000 a month, tax-free, paid for by us. And he was already well taken care of. You really think he needed that as much as the workers needed more than 4%? Think about it.
So that was a real insult. And on top of that, Chiotio, who was Prime Minister for 1 day, and I'm saying 1 day because he was appointed today, and the next day, he named a cabinet, and then what did he do? He advised the president to prorogue parliament, and he called the election. 1 day he was Prime Minister for, 1 day. And just because he's Prime Minister for that 1 day, he's not going to get $87,000 as well until he dies as a pension. And workers, seeing that, being told that the country has no money, your value is 4%, that is a greater insult to workers. But again, the UNC is saying to the workers, look, we hear you, you deserve more than that, and we are prepared to give you more than that. I believe I heard Dr. Munyan say, we are even willing to start at 10%, as we want to start. Look, last week, unions were calling to meet with the CPO. And what you offer them for 2020 to 2022, you offer them 5%, 113. That's why you started at 5%, right? So if it is you could have offered the workers 5%, now all of a sudden you could call for a meeting during the election time and offer them 5%, thinking that some of them are going to get food because it's 1% more than 4, right? And the 5% for 3 years, whereas the 4% was for 6 years, right? Thinking that some unions are going to be fooled. Well, here's what, the unions are not going to be fooled. I'm sure all the unions rejected that, and they're just waiting. What the unions are doing now is just waiting for the UNC to come into power so they can get what they rightfully deserve, and rightfully so.
So true. Yeah, there's so much to discuss as far as that, but one thing we know that there has been a lot of discussions that have taken place, intense dialogue with that of JTAM and the United National Congress. And so we look forward to many of these things being implemented. But tell us more about your campaign. I know you're out there. People who may still want to get involved, is there a number? Is there a Facebook page? Give us an idea when your walkabouts are taking place, whether AM, PM, and what are some of the things happening as well with your cottage meetings and activities?
But my campaign has just been totally awesome. When I tell you awesome, Mikee K, I mean awesome. They say that the seat is a PNM safe seat. Well, I will swear to God in my walkabout that is a UNC safe seat, because when I tell you the kind of response we have been getting from the constituents of Brea, people are fed up. People want change. And therefore, when I go out on the campaign trail, I'm heartened every single day, even when I go into so-called PNM stronghold, that they even say, look, we fed up, we want change and we're voting for you. We know you're a fighter, we know that you work hard, we know you don't give up. Like just now, I just came off the campaign trail. I'm on my way to just because I'm going to support my brother Kiza in Point Fortin. He's opening an office this evening. I'm going to be present in that office opening. I just came from campaigning in a place called Sobo Dong, where the PNN spent hundreds of millions of dollars to refurbish the beach camp. And I showed on a live just now the extent of the abandonment of that area, wasting of our resources, and I think people are fed up. So if you want to join my campaign, I campaign every day. God's willing, once there's nothing to keep me back, except Tuesday coming, I do have a funeral to attend. My stepdaughter's father, unfortunately, he passed away suddenly, and that funeral takes place on Tuesday. So with the exception of Tuesday, we campaigning every day from 9:30 until we're going right down till we lie down, right? And we are lie down yet, so we're going right down. Yeah. We may not campaign on Friday because Friday is a holy religious day, so we give that respect to the religions. But we're going to continue campaigning hard. If you want to join my campaign, sure, no problem. You can go on the Elder for Brea. I do have an Elder for Brea page. You can go there on Facebook. You can go on my own personal Facebook page, my Clyde Elder page. You'll see some stuff there. You can leave comments there. You can leave numbers there. You could message me. You can even get in contact with my campaign manager, and I'm sure he would mind if I give out his number publicly. So his number is 288-9763, 288-9763 to join the Brea campaign. Of course, as with everything else, campaigning needs resources. Anybody wants to donate anything at all, we open to that. But of course, call the campaign manager, and we're willing to have you on board with our campaign. Join this campaign. This campaign is exciting. It has young people, many young people in the campaign. And as I say, there's a wind of change blowing in Brea. and that wind of change continues to blow. Tomorrow we're going to be in Rosilac area, going to Pablito Trace. So if you want to join us, in Pablito Trace tomorrow, we're going to start from 9:30, get into Rosilac area, join us if you want, come out and meet us, come out and walk with us, and be on the right side of history, and ensure that you are part of the Clyde Elder campaign in Brea that is going to bring home Brea's seat for the first time in history for the United National Congress. Safe seat, nothing. Yellow is the code.
Thank you. Any closing comments? Go right ahead.
Well, I just want to say that to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, this is the time to show to the United National Congress that you really, really care about this country, and to let the others know that they are not what you need, and that you are willing to support that change to good governance. And really and truly, the best way to do that is support Kamala Persad-Bissessar-led UNC, because when UNC wins, everybody wins.
Thank you so much, Mr. Elder. Thank you so much. Best of luck to you and your entire team. Keep up the good work. And of course, victory come April 28th. Thank you so much again.
Most welcome, and thanks for having me. All the best, Trinidad and Tobago.